You meet a man, he's funny, attentive, he actually listens to you. You go on a date and you get home with sore cheeks from laughing. He says all the right things, wants the same things. It feels easy and rare. Dates turn into a relationship and you think, this is exactly what you've been looking for. Now imagine discovering everything he told you was a lie, and you're only one of many women he has on the go. This is the story of Filthy John, a compulsive liar, a manipulator, a man with a serious drug problem, a habit of stealing and a dangerous temper. On the surface he was hilarious, affectionate, the perfect man. But behind the scenes he was creating chaos in multiple women's lives, lying to them, mirroring their personalities, love bombing, stealing, vanishing, reappearing, and slowly wrecking their sense of reality. These women didn't just overlap, their lives became tangled in the most bizarre ways. In this podcast you'll hear from 5 of them. 5 women brave enough to sit down and tell their story. There are more, but some of them are too scared to speak. This is a story about manipulation, survival, and the power that comes when women start comparing notes. In this episode, we hear from Linda for the second time. In her first episode, she shared the chaos John brought into her life, the thefts, the lies, the gaslighting about her health that led her to get hearing aids she didn't even need, the cheating and even the alleged phone hackings. But this time things are different. Linda isn't afraid of him anymore. She has taken back her power, and her story now comes from a place of strength, not fear.
We recorded the podcast. That was grand. And Monica was actually still in touch with John. So when we were talking to John's daughter's mother, we'll call her Rita, we knew there was a pending court case coming up in terms of their custody arrangement. So we kind of felt it was important to try and gather as much as we could for Rita for the court case, just in terms of, his drug use, his lying, his cheating, his general behaviour, especially when the child is there. What Monica initially started to do was record the phone calls. So we kept that line of communication open on behalf of Rita. And actually for all of us, we all kind of, I suppose, when we actually realised who John is, we were all getting quite a kick out of it because he had no idea that we were all in touch with each other. And every time he came up with some of his bullshit stories, we all knew it was crap. But then out of nowhere, then I play a lot of chess and Scrabble online in tournaments and stuff. And John would have been aware of this because he used to play with me as well. But he challenged me to a game of Scrabble on my app. I sent a screenshot of it to the girls and I was like, what I do here? And they're like, seriously once. And I was like, oh God. So I accepted it. We played a game of Scrabble, and of course you can conversate in the game. It was basically him just being John, all of his gaslighting and crap, the usual stuff. I'm sorry for everything. I messed up. I miss you. Can we talk on WhatsApp? So I said, yeah, no bother. Now, bear in mind, I was fully aware at this stage of who John was. This is me playing along. Basically, it was just him trying to get me to drop my pending case against him over the theft of the dongle, which is still ongoing. Okay. So he was basically just trying to do John, trying to get me to drop the case. But in the meantime, I was also recording everything and got him to admit to taking drugs and, just all the lies, oh my God, he hasn't changed, but he hasn't learned one thing, not one thing. He's still the very same. The Wi-Fi dongle is the only thing I can prove that he took, only because Monica, believe it or not, because he sent her a picture and the dongle's in the picture, and that was months after the fact that he told me he didn't take it. And it's a picture of it in his house. So that's the only thing I could prove that he took, because obviously I went to the guards about all my property when I found out just the level of theft. So that's still ongoing at the moment. So it's pending, still waiting. It's a very slow process. My plan is to still put fire ahead with that and push it as far as I can. If nothing comes of it, nothing comes of it. But it would be great to hold him accountable for his actions as well. when I got back talking to him, I said to him, see, Anya and I at the time worked within close proximity to each other, literally across the road from each other. So he didn't know that myself and Anya knew each other. And I said to him, I see this lovely, lovely woman in a little cafe near my job from time to time. Is this your friend Anya? Now, he had always said Anya was just a friend. He was never in a relationship with Anya. You know, she's an old friend of his, this, that, and the other. And I was like, and he goes, yeah, yeah, she probably was because she lives close. And I was saying, I was thinking about saying hello to her. And he was calling my bluff. Yeah, you should. She's very friendly. So I met Anya one day for a coffee in the restaurant close to where we work and sent him a selfie of me and her, right? And I said, just had a very interesting conversation with this lovely lady. And he said, I bet you did. So that was me letting him know I know about all the lies, and now Anya does too.
When John found out about the podcast, he didn't take it well. In true John fashion, he lashed out, angry, defensive, and desperate to regain control. Monica took the brunt of it, receiving a stream of messages and abuse. But what John didn't realise was that he was only digging himself in deeper.
He hit the roof. He went absolutely mental. And Monica managed to capture this as well in a recording where he was threatening to come for me, Anya, and her if she didn't take down the podcast. He got very nasty, very nasty. So obviously the guards got involved. So myself, Anya, and Monica were granted protection orders, pending safety orders. He didn't really seem to care. He came hard and heavy, especially to Monica with the threats of violence, threatened to come to her house, and really, really going out of his way to intimidate her. I wasn't really in a bad situation because John is very aware that I have an adult son and I have an adult brother that lives across the road from me as well. So he'd never get away with that coming to my house. Like, but Monica was way more vulnerable. I have to say, as bad as he was with all the threats, the women were amazing. Everybody rallied around Monica in particular because she was closest to him and she was the most vulnerable. Even Rita, the mother of his child, and her husband, offering to go up and stay with her the night. Everybody, we all looked after each other. Because we were scared. We were. He can be horrible, a horrible man. Myself and Monica in particular, we actually we have a night where we would meet up and have a good few drinks. During that stage where John wasn't aware what was going on, he kept ringing Monica and I'd be there in the background and he didn't know, like, the shite he'd be coming out with, like, pure and utter lies. Making fun of his current girlfriend, going on about her tattoo, calling her crazy for getting the tattoo and all. His current girlfriend is one of the women that I was told when I met up with Rita about. So I think he's with her a long time, on and off, or with other women and her. I'm not really sure of the dynamic. We tried to reach out and help her, but she wasn't interested. He was on a call to Monica, making fun of her for doing that. Basically kind of put across that she was sad for doing that and this that, and the other. And apparently she had sent him a picture of an engagement ring and all. And he was basically just poking fun at her, saying, Monica, how do I get out of this situation and all this kind of stuff. And of course, Monica was just pissing herself laughing. I was actually on the floor beside her laughing because he didn't even know I was there. Like, but like this, he's still doing this thing to women. Like, he went out of his way to make his current girlfriend sound like an absolute crazy nutcase, like to try and keep Monica sweet. But he wasn't aware, that like we were totally onto him. Like, we know everything. When I was recording him secretly when he was ringing me after the Scrabble game, I was trying to get as much information out of him as possible. And I was saying, he said, ask me anything and I'll tell you the truth. And I was like, were you in a relationship with Monica when I was in a relationship? Yeah. No. Honest to God, no. My God's witness, absolutely not. Blah blah blah. So he was still lying about everything. Like, and me and the girls were listening to the recordings afterwards, and we were like, "What's actually wrong with him?" Like, but I have to tell you, I quite enjoyed, being in the driving seat in that situation for a while. I secretly really enjoyed, having that one up on him for a change. After everything that he had put me through, it was nice for him to feel like the idiot in the situation.
At the start of 2025, as more and more women began connecting and realising their shared experiences, Monica decided to set up a WhatsApp group called Karma. It became a safe space where everyone could talk openly about what had happened with John. At one point, there were 12 women in the group. most with their own version of the sorry story.
Just as the podcast they were getting released, there was a bit of a fallout with all the ladies. Now, when I say a fallout, I suppose it wasn't an argument as such. It was just a couple of the women got spooked because I suppose they were scared of John's reaction. You know, when one saw this came out, they were worried they were going to get dragged into it. So there was a little bit of a divide down the middle there, which was unfortunate because all of the ladies are so lovely. And I don't blame them for being afraid. I suppose the more we dug into the situation and really found out who John is, the less scary he became. Like, he's so full of shit, it's not even funny. Now that I'm in the situation that I am and I know who John is, looking back on my previous behavior, how I reacted, if he was upset and this, that, and the other, I really disappointed with myself because he's just a fucking idiot. Like, there's nothing special about John. He has no hidden talents in terms of hacking stuff. He just convinced me that he was just really good at all this stuff, and he's not. He did send me my passwords when we were breaking up, but he had told me stories about being able to hack other people's accounts and find information. And he had a guard friend named Pat. He hacked into some girl's Snapchat to delete the chat history because this guard apparently was going to be in trouble for something he said to a minor or something stupid like that. He was going on about hacking into, like, the Scrabble app, for example. If you pay your Scrabble app, you don't have to watch the ads. He was saying you could hack into it so he doesn't have to pay the ads. And then he said he got banned from Revolution because he was hacking into something to do with that. Like there was a couple of times, he say, oh, let me put this app on your phone, this, that, and the other. I think he might went in and seen my Google saved passwords. On reflection, it makes more sense because if he really was a mastermind hacker, I'm sure he would have retaliated by now. I mean, because he said he's after getting an awful time, since the podcast, this, that, and the other. Yeah, I hope that's true, that part. I hope that's the one thing he's telling the truth about. My family are ashamed and this, that, and the other, and I'm getting an awful time, and people think this about me, and blah blah blah. And we're just like, yeah, but you're like, that's exactly who we are. We didn't tell any lies. We have proof about absolutely everything, and we got most of the proof after the podcast when he got really nasty. He'd be ringing Monica, like, clearly on something or drunk, I don't know, giving her loads on the phone, and you could hear his girlfriend's dogs barking in the background. So he's some neck on him to be ringing ex-girlfriends, threatening them while at his missus' house. Like, I suppose I don't know why I didn't question it more when he was talking about his amazing abilities. I don't know. For some reason, I just genuinely believed absolutely everything that man told me at the start. Do I feel silly now? Absolutely. You know, the one thing I did learn is John is the biggest loser out of all this situation because we're all great friends now and he has nobody. How lonely would you have to be trying to befriend all the women that you screwed over and actually have safety orders against you and actually hate you? Like, that's a lonely, lonely man. Like,
To get their safety orders against John, Linda and Monica had to go to court in September. By pure coincidence, John's ex-partner Rita was also due in court that same day, in the very same building, for a case involving their child. It made for quite the waiting room, John sitting there with 3 of his ex-partners, who were all there because of him.
my court date for my safety order, because first you need a protection order, you have to go to court to plead your case to get a safety order. And that's put in place for X amount of years, because the protection order only covers you until your court date. So in order for us to get the safety order, we had to appear in court and testify and, put our case forward, and then it's granted or it's denied, one or the other. So my safety order date was actually the same day as Monica's, and those dates were the same day as Rita's custody case as well. We all rocked up to court together, and there was John. Oh God, it was so funny. He was all awkward for the whole day, and we were just sitting there laughing at him. You have to sit outside in the waiting area, wait to be called. We were there all day. We were there from 10:30 in the morning. I think we all finished up. We waited for each other. Like, Monica went first, I went, and then Rita third. So I think we were done by maybe 4:30 or 5 o'clock, if I remember correctly. Did you ever look at somebody and you can tell that they're visibly uncomfortable? Like, and we were just cackling like 3 little witches, and he was sitting there, a paranoid wreck. Oh, it was so good. It was a Kodak moment. I'll cherish that one forever. He didn't contest anything. He didn't deny anything. So he knows exactly how much alcoholics he is, like, because he would have tried to stick up for himself otherwise, like, you know. It just so happened my son was in Gorey in the gym that day, and he walked down to the courtroom. When John went in, he wasn't there, but when John came out, he was there. My son is an intermediate bodybuilder, and he does a lot of he's a big fella, he's a big lad, like, you know. He would have shit bricks when he seen him, so he walked straight out, straight on, like. And plus, Reese's husband was there, so there's no way he would have tried anything, like. But he just looked fuming. It's about time he got to feel all the negative emotions that he makes everybody else feel. It's funny because it was never really about revenge. It was just we started this because we wanted to make other women aware of what he was up to, because it's really not a nice experience. But I think the revenge part was just an added bonus. Yeah. I had told the judge when I was getting the safety order, it was the same judge, when I initially went, that I needed a protection order, explained about the podcast. Now, there was a couple of a podcast, right? Okay, you know, when you're filling out an application to get a safety order, you have to write basically a description of why and what kind of danger you feel that you're in, and this, that, and the other. And I had kind of put some detail in about the podcast and John's reaction, you know, and that we had audio of him threatening to come for us. There was lots more questions when Anya went to get her safety order. Her judge, because obviously she's in a different county, had lots of questions for her about the podcast. Really, a podcast? My God, you know, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, obviously he didn't react well to the podcast. None of us regret doing it though. Um, we are so close now. Like, these women are amazing women. Like, you know, they're such good crack. They'll turn up for you anytime. They're always there. You know, I have no regrets about doing the podcast online. I suppose when we was on the "Are We Dating the Same Guy" pages, there was a couple of negative comments, which I get. I understand. Most of the comments were great. Like, you know, people were very supportive and all that kind of stuff. There was a couple of negative comments, which I completely understand. You know, now that I'm in a situation where, like, there's no feelings involved, looking back on my reactions to the situation, obviously I'm of the same opinion. What were you thinking? Like, just looking at the facts. But like, I do have to remind myself about the haze I was in, because I've forgotten about the haze now. Like, there's no feelings there anymore. It's different when you actually have them feelings, and you know you're going through this, you're overlooking things because you're still hoping that the person that, you know, you fell in love with is still there somewhere, and this is all just a misunderstanding. You know, he'll come back, everything will be great. Like, this can't be true.
On the Are We Dating the Same Guy group, most of the comments were supportive. People were rightly disgusted by John's behaviour and felt for the women he had hurt, but not everyone was kind. Some started questioning how they could have stayed with him so long, or how they had given him money, especially as single mothers. One anonymous post in particular hit hard and hit repeatedly. The woman behind it said the girls had taken no accountability at all, that they had played a part in what happened. Linda explains that they had figured out who wrote it, someone from their Karma group, one of John's exes.
She was an odd one. She was a bit sketchy from the start. I think we were a little all unsure about her, uh, only because she didn't really seem over John. I suppose it did cross our minds, was she going to run back and, oh, John, they're saying this, that, and the other about you, you know, I'm here for you, kind of thing. Like, but we actually caught her screenshotting. We were having a disagreement, a dispute in the group chat. Everybody was putting their 2 cents in, and it was getting a little bit ropey. And she screenshot it and posted it into the group instead of wherever she was meant to post it. And one of the other girls copped it. I had seen it as well. And of course, you know, we challenged her on it, like, why you screenshot this conversation? Well, she flew off the handle then and left the group, basically calling us all crazy or whatever. She might have been right. We were going a little crazy. Like, we were on a mission, and we all agreed to it at the start of the mission. Everybody knew what the plan was. But then, I suppose, when it came to the wire, the podcast and this, that, and the other, and then obviously we had a writer as well who was doing an article, it got real, and I think it got a bit too real for some of them, you know, which I completely understand as well. Everybody has different kind of limits and personalities and what they're willing to put themselves through, which is fine. Like, but this particular girl, yeah, she screenshot the conversation, And I think we were able to figure out then she got a little bit vexed, I suppose, because we were still rocking on, going on with it. And yeah, she turned a little bit feral and vile on us, I suppose. But look at she claims to be a woman of God, so hopefully she'll find her peace and move on with her life. So she was on and off and on and off with John. She was in and around the time where Rita, so she goes back years. So she was in between a couple of different women and overlapping with a couple of different women. I think she overlapped at the very start of Monica's relationship with John as well, if I remember correctly. I'm not really sure like why she went that way. Like, because she had significant relationships with John. And maybe it was because there were so many personalities in this group. Some of these women they're very strong, strong women. Most of the women are very strong. Maybe she kind of, because she was one of the last to join, maybe she didn't feel important enough. I don't know where it went wrong with her. Like, because she seemed like a lovely person. She did. Like, and actually, she might be a lovely person. We didn't really get the chance to know her very well. It was a very brief engagement with her. She was in and then she was gone. Kind of gave her 2 cents and that was it. Like, we weren't sure whether it was her at the start or whether it was somebody to do with John's current girlfriend or John's current girlfriend. And then we were thinking maybe it's one of John's sisters. So we did toy around with a few things, but we were there was a comment made, and I think it was the way it was spelled, a couple of the words. We were able to, kind of reference it to the spellings in the messages that she had been posting in our group, and we were able to figure out it was her. Like,
Despite a few nasty comments from strangers online and even some women in the WhatsApp group, Linda refuses to let it get to her. She knows exactly why she spoke out. Her goal was simple: to make sure as many women as possible knew about Filthy John from Wexford, just like Orla, who we heard from in the last episode.
he hasn't changed his spots at all. He's still up to the same things: lying to women, cheating on women, robbing from women. I mean, his victim, he stole all of her medication. I mean, ridiculous. He took her meds. It could have, definitely progressed. But stealing is stealing. It doesn't matter what he took on her. He still took from her. What she knows he took is her medication. Truth be told, I didn't discover half of the stuff he had stolen onto me until after the fact, until I was speaking to Monica. She happened to be wearing my son's jumper on our first video call. I was like, what in the world? And then we had to show each other all of the property that John had given us as gifts. And she had loads of my stuff. I had loads of her stuff. She has one of my bridesmaids' dresses. He gifted her my clothes. Like, he gave her a pair of runners that my ex-husband had bought me when I was pregnant with our daughter. I couldn't wear them because they hurt my feet. They were never worn outside. They were brand new pink night runners. He gifted them to Monica. I didn't even notice they were gone until she showed me them, and I was like, I went in. See, I have a spare room in my house, this junk room I call it, where I store things. When I went in and had a look, the amount of stuff this man took from me is ridiculous. Like, when I'm in the bed, he's gone shopping, taking stuff out of my spare room. Like, yeah, no, not a bother on him. Monica offered to give me everything back, but there was a reason most of it was in there. It's because I wasn't using it. So, and she was the same with me. I mean, we just said, just leave it. I got 2 scarves back off her that were gifts, one from my mother, one from my son. Everything else was like, you're grand, like, you keep them. But my son was working in a gym at the time, and they have their logoed hoodies. She was wearing one in the video, to our first video call. And I was like, what in the world? Kitchen appliances, all sorts of stuff belonging to Monica, like knives and forks he brought down to my house that he said he got for me, all Monica's, an egg timer, there's an Audi. Now, he bought me this ridiculously ugly handbag for Christmas 2023. It's actually minging. When I opened it, I was like, what in the Jesus Christ almighty is this? It was so awful that we had, when we were all in the Karma group together, all the women, we had a property show and tell, like, who owns this, and we were trying to get everybody's property back to them. Nobody claimed the handbag, it was so ugly. So I'm stuck with it. I still have it. Like, but there's even jewellery that he took on Anya, gifted to Monica. He gifted me somebody's Blackstone diamond chain. I don't know who owns that. And also we discovered as well that he is stealing sex toys and gifting them to other women. No word of a lie. This man is just incredible. Yeah, he just takes them and brings them to the next women, saying they're his. Couple of ones, right? So the most recent one that we have was when Monica was recording John, and he was unbeknownst, he was telling her some story about his current girlfriend's wand that had broken. He obviously took it and told her he was going to fix it, but he actually gifted it to Orla. Yeah, dildos, things like that. Like when I first met John, he brought me a little bag. Not when I first met John, when I first started sleeping with John, he brought me a little bag of goodies, a goodie bag, and in it was a mini wand, a bottle of champagne, a candle, and a few little things in it. Now the little mini wand was clean, it looked grand, whatever. It turns out that belonged to Anya originally. I didn't question it anyway. I was just like, "Oh my God, you're so sweet." I think I was more interested in the champagne. I was like, "Whoa, bit of bubbly, I think so." It never even crossed my mind that John would have stolen this from another woman and brought it down to me to gift it to me, because by that time I was just madly in love with John, and there was no way he would ever do that to me. Um, and he was just the perfect man. He was a perfect man. So it didn't even cross my mind that this could belong to another woman. We had a universal sex toy jumping event that night. All went in the bin. We're all at the stage now where John is a distant memory for us. We did what we did and we're happy that we did it. The outcome for us is we have all these new friends, all these new connections. He has nobody, so that's the ultimate satisfaction. I'm at a place now where I'm really satisfied with the outcome. Having all these women, it feels like having a little army behind you when you need them.
Thank you for listening to part 6 of Filthy John. Please like, subscribe, and share. The next episode is the final episode, and we will meet Monica again. If you've been affected by any of the issues mentioned, please know that you're not alone. Support is available. Reach out to Women's Aid or the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre for help and guidance.